Cox Plate history, and they've had some for sure. It's no exaggeration. Keith Hillier and Max Presnell are joined by the man of the moment, Jim Cassidy. Welcome. Keith, how'd you like to pay $200 to have your photo taken alongside Max?
Well, I would have paid it to see the Cox Plate, the BMW Cox Plate yesterday, Bruce, because it had everything. I mean, it should have started with Once Upon a Time. Nick Moratis had been to Caulfield once and won the Cup, been to Flemington once and won the Cup. Yesterday he went to the Valley for the first time and won the Cox Plate. And Might and Power, 2 seconds off the record, that equates to 12 lengths.
It was magnificent stuff. Max, you've got Jimmy alongside of you, but you've seen a lot of them, Max, and this is as good as we've seen, I think, don't you?
Oh, no doubt about that, Bruce. It was a magic occasion. I do think, above all, the star is the horse, and of course the jockey played a role, but the Melbourne crowd, the Moonee Valley Club, it was a great mix and a day that I think everybody that was there, everybody that saw it, will long remember.
Bruce, I know the star's with us, but just one thing I've never seen on a race course before. Spectators jumped the fence yesterday at Moonee Valley to shake hands with the owner.
Amazing stuff.
It was unbelievable.
It was. We're going to show a little bit of that in a moment, Keith. It was just great, and Jim, you played a role in all of the aftermath with the way that you took the horse down in front of everybody. But just before that, Jim, you were very, I guess, you kept things to yourself, didn't you, before the race, on purpose? How did you plan that race? I mean, it was a brilliant ride, as it turned out.
Well, Bruce, I was lucky enough, Wednesday I flew back to Sydney to ride a horse for Gary Moore, and it was in a race in the honour of George Moore, and I was lucky enough to catch up with George at the track Wednesday morning, and I thought, what a great opportunity to ask a champion how to ride a champion. And George said, look, Jim Bowie said, give him a trouble-free run, give him room to put his legs down, and let him bow his head, and he said, they can't beat him. He was a bit flat-footed at the start. Is that normal for him, Jim? Well, he did jump reasonably well, Bruce, but he took 3 or 4 strides really to get going, and he showed that at Caulfield when he won the Yalumba. All he wanted to do was relax. And I just think that he's looking forward to running the 2400.
Jim, we want to we want to catch the excitement of it, but we might just play the start, Jim. Just talk us through until you go to the front when you take over from Tycoon Lil. You're drawn to, just talk us through, say, the first 300 or 400 metres.
Well, you can see me digging here, Bruce. Shane, first thing he's done is look for me. He stated early in the week that he was riding a race to beat Might and Power. I've got the 100-to-1 shot on me outside Super Slew looking to cross me, and I've just had to come out, give him a bump, and my option was to lead, and all I wanted to do was lead going out of the straight. I said to Jack, no matter what, at all costs, I want to lead, dictate the race, and then it gives Shane the only option was to sit off me. And look, I stated early in the week, once I led, I always thought it was going to be a chase, not a race.
And last of all, Doremus, they file down to the 1400, and it's Might and Power on top of the BMW Cox Plate by a length and a half to Tycoon Lil, a length further back Batavian, Kenwood Melody fourth the outside, 2 further back Dracula fifth on the inside of Super Slew, 2.5 Northern Drake, a half Gold Guru, 1 to Dodge, second last is Catalan Opening and Doremus last of all. Jay Cassidy controls the Cox Plate at the halfway mark at the 1,000-metre mark on Might and Power. He's out by 2 lengths. Tycoon Lil second, Batavian a length third, a length in Kenwood Melody running fourth, a length and a half Dracula fifth, 1 Super Slew, 2 for the back Northern Drake, then Gold Guru further back in the race Dodge. Catalan Opening second last, Doremus last of all. They're filing off the 800-metre turn, and Might and Power, the horse of the year in Australia, by 2 lengths to Tycoon Lil, a length and a half Kenwood Melody, 1 Batavian, 2 Dracula, Northern Drake, and then Gold Guru. They're followed further back by Dodge and Catalan Opening. Might and Power the leader at the 500-metre mark. Tycoon Lil under enormous pressure. Kenwood Melody the outside, 2 Batavian, Northern Drake at the 400-metre mark, and Jimmy's calling on the big horse Might and Power, a length and a half Tycoon Lil, Kenwood Melody, then Northern Drake, and further back in the race Catalan Opening. Jimmy lets him go on the turn, and it's Might and Power 2 or 3 in front from Tycoon Lil. Northern Drake down the outside. Tycoon Lil can't go on. Might and Power in front. He's going to get it. The earth starts to rumble. Might and Power takes the Cox Plate, a length and a half Northern Drake. 2 lengths away, third Tycoon Lil. Dodges for...
Terrific call from Brian Martin, and great moments after the race. The crowd erupted, Keith, didn't they? As soon as the horse hit the post.
And Bruce, Jimmy wouldn't get off him. He took him right round the back. He took him up to see the crowd. You were reluctant to get off. You were savouring the moment, James.
I thought it was a special moment for racing yesterday, not for myself or Jack Denham or Nick Moratis. I think it was for the Melbourne people. They really loved this horse, and I think they really deserved to see him. I deliberately took him up to the top of the straight, to let the Melbourne people see him. I was lapping the moment up, and I thought it was very special. I love the Melbourne people, and they deserve to see
So
a
does
great
your
horse.
owner, Nick Moraters. He was chanting Melbourne, Melbourne, Melbourne as he waved to the crowd.
Keith, I've never seen on a racetrack in my lifetime, 20-odd years in
Look at
racing.
this.
This is unbelievable. But to be amongst that and be part of it is just something I can never, ever forget in racing. It's just very, very special.
Somebody asked Nick, they said, Nick, what do you think about the prize money? And Nick said, something the prize money. But I think that is, I think that's what it's all about. I think
Expletive deleted.
It is incredible,
I do
isn't
think that it was greater than any prize money. You can see there, Big Nick is thoroughly lapping up the moment, and there's Jim lapping up the horse.
There was one other moment, Bruce, when Jack Denham spoke.
Yeah.
And to see an old man trembling, quivering, expressing his delight at winning the race that he'd finished runner-up in for 2 previous years. Oh, there wasn't a dry in the house, including mine.
Yeah, it was a poignant moment. Max, one of the things I think we learnt from the race is that it is a race for the big boys. The 3-year-olds have either got to be, they've got to be champions to win, and mares as well. I mean, she's a beauty, but it is a race for the big boys, I think, don't you?
It is a race for the big boys. Might and Power is the biggest, Bruce, and I think he showed yesterday that he's a worthy contender for the world scene. Anybody that said Australian racehorses aren't as good as those overseas hasn't seen Might and Power.
Well, we were talking about 2 different sorts of horses. He joined elite groups yesterday, so many of them, the $5 million club, and he's sure to go past the Great Super and Octagonal. But probably the 2 that are more significant, because stake money can be a bit misleading, is the fact that only Rising Fast had ever won those other 2 races, the 2 Cups and the Cox Plate. He did it in the 1 year, admittedly, and only Farlap had come back from winning the Melbourne Cup and come back to win the Cox Plate. Jimmy, Keith, Max, they're 2 of the greatest names ever, and he's right there with them.
Oh, he's a legend, Jimmy, isn't he?
No, well, I'd say this. I think he's done better. Did Farlap lead all the way in all those races? Did Rising Fast lead all the way in all those races? He just might have an edge.
Well, James?
Outstanding performance, Bruce. To lead and win the 3 big ones is unbelievable, and I just hope that the
Well, you lead in
STC might
Tokyo,
get him running
Jim.
the Golden Slipper. It's the only race I haven't won.
It is the big major. You're a golfing man, you know the. Will you try and lead at Tokyo? Will you try and lead all the way at the Japan Cup?
He won't have to lead a 1.5 miles, Bruce. I believe he's a champion at a 1.5 miles. I've always believed he was beatable at 2,000. He proved me wrong yesterday. It was a race that I thought he could win yesterday at 2,000, but at a 1.5 miles, he won't have to lead. Japan will have some speeds to go out, probably the first 600-700 metres. If he sits off them, come the top of the rise, look out, here we come.
And will he run in at Flemington during the carnival at all?
Hopefully, maybe he'll miss the McKinnon. I hope he does, and maybe carry the 60 kilos in the Queen Elizabeth. It'll be a nice race just to top him off before he goes to Japan.
Oh, we could go on forever, boys, but we're not allowed to, you know that.
Well, he's got a big heart, Might and Power, as did Farlap, but Jimmy Cassidy, just to get in here this morning, proved that he's up in that class too.
Good on you, James. We appreciate it.
Bruce.
You've been a great friend to Seven for a long time.
Pleasure.
All the Max and Keith, always a pleasure, boys, and I'll catch up with you during the week, and we'll be back for Derby Day. We'll tip the
forward to
Melbourne
that,
Cup
sure.
winner next weekend, boys.
No problem.
Well, winners are the best, aren't they? Jimmy, well done. Great rider, wonderful horse. A break. More on Sportsworld after this.
Right. You got any kids? I doubt it, right? What's just pretending like that ball was out? Huh? What's just pretending the ball was out, man? So then you sit bitch like that ball was out. Whoosh! The ball was out. Bryce won.